today's council meeting. Just to let you know before we start that the chaplain today sends his apologies. He's been asked to attend court in his capacity as a magistrate, so was unable to attend. So we'll go straight to the meeting, so please be seated. Just to remind everybody that the proceedings will be live streamed and recorded. There is no fire drill planned. In the event of a fire alarm sounding, please leave by the nearest fire exit and make your way to the car park at the front of county offices. Members should be mindful that the high-performing loop system is sensitive to any type of noise in the chamber. Ambient sounds of the chamber immediately prior to meetings and during open sessions may be picked up by the loop, and therefore councillors should conduct private conversations outside of the chamber. The loop will be noted at the close of the meeting. If during the proceedings today you wish to speak, please raise your hand so that it clearly be seen, and either a member of the Democratic Services or the Vice Chairman will acknowledge and pass your name on to myself. When I invite you to speak, you should press the button on your microphone unit to make it live. Please speak directly into the microphone and press the button again to switch it off once you have finished speaking. I'd like to start then with any apologies of absence, and if I can ask Chief Executive Andrew Crookham.
Thank you, Chairman. So yeah, we have apologies for absence from Councillor Clegg, Councillor Cullen, Councillor Christopher, Councillor Whitaker and Councillor Woods. Thank you.
The second item is to go on to declarations of councillors' interests. Do any councillors here have any interest that they would like to declare at this stage of the meeting? And just to remind you that if later on you feel that there is a need to make a declaration, please do so and it will be duly recorded. Moving on to item 3, minutes of the meeting of the council held on the 12th of September 2025. These need to be, can I assume that everyone has approved those, had read them and approved them, and if there's anyone against, let me know, otherwise I will take them and sign them later. Thank you. Moving on to the extraordinary meeting held on the 21st of November. Likewise, these minutes have been circulated, and I will take them as read unless anybody else wishes to speak at this point. And I will be signing both sets of minutes at the end of the meeting. Now I'd like to go into Chairman's announcements. Since the last meeting of the Council, I've been busy carrying out civic engagements around the county. As ever, I would like to thank the Vice Chairman, Councillor Mike Beecham, for deputising for me at events when I have been unable to attend. A huge highlight for me was in November, when I was honoured to attend the Remembrance Day service in Lincoln Cathedral. It was extremely moving and hundreds of people attended the service, as well as many people who congregated in Minster Yard to observe the troops. It was a privilege to lay a poppy wreath on behalf of the County Council. I know many of my fellow councillors also laid wreaths in their local areas. I am planning to hold the county service of dedication on the afternoon of Sunday, March the 1st, 26. It will be held at my local parish church of St Thomas's in Market Raisin, and I would ask that all councillors please make a note of this date in their diary. Invitations and further details will be sent out in due course. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity, and I'll mention it again at the end, I'm sure, to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and best wishes for 2026. Moving on to item 6, statements and announcements by the leader and members of the council. The statements are set out on pages 17 to 48 of the agenda pack. Can I ask if the leader of or any executive members have anything to add to what they have written? Okay. Can I just draw your attention that there are some changes to the executive portfolio, not members, but the responsibilities, and they can be found in Schedule 1, which is published at the end of these papers. Moving on then to questions to the chairman, the leader, executive councillors, chairman of committees and subcommittees. I'm anxious to allow a good spread of questions across the chamber within the time allocated. I intend to allow 45 minutes for questions. I would hope that councillors could be disciplined because of the time available. When invited to ask their questions, councillors should press the button on their microphone to make it live and press it again when they have finished speaking. And the first question will be Councillor Bean to Councillor Danny Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. I've recently been made aware that Anglian Water intend to move all their customers in our area onto metered water bills. They say that this is because it is the fairest way to pay for water and that our area is not only one of the fastest growing but also the driest. I believe that this is nothing more than a cynical attempt by Anglian Water to maximise their profits at the expense of our residents who are already struggling with the burden of increased taxes and the cost of living crisis as a result of the recent disastrous Labour budget. Could I ask that Executive Councillor Brooks liaise with the leader of Lincolnshire County Council to write to Anglian Water and ask them on behalf of our residents to disclose the data proving that Lincolnshire is the driest area in the country, and also if Lincolnshire has been officially designated as water stressed by the Secretary of State. What's more, if this is the case, then why is the largest percentage of water from the new reservoir in Lincolnshire being piped elsewhere?
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Bean, for your question. Yeah, I will liaise with the leader and we shall write to Anglian Water. We do know that we have the data that it is one of the driest areas in the country and it is water stressed. However, I believe Anglian Water should be doing more of their own household maintenance. They lose 66 billion litres of water through leakage every year, and they're wanting to charge Mrs. Jones for filling a bottle up out of a tap. So I will liaise with the leader and we will write to them asking the questions that you've put forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question will be from Councillor Richard Davis to Councillor Sean Matthews.
Thank you. Mr Chairman, may I start by wishing you, all members of the Chamber and council employees, in fact, residents across the county, a very Merry Christmas. And it's good to see everybody here today. Mr Chairman, Christmas is a very important time of year. It's slightly magical, it's full of expectation, and the new year brings a sense of promise for the future. And it's within those terms I'd like to ask the leader a question. Many moons ago, a wise man in the East foretold a prophecy of a coming. Now, I don't mean Balthazar of Ethiopia foretelling the birth of Christ. I mean Tice of Dubai promising the star of Doge would land above County Hall and millions of pounds of savings would be found. My question to Councillor Matthews is, how's it going? Has Doge been? Where are these millions of pounds? Or was it in fact nothing more than a piece of political theatre?
Thank you. Councillor Matthews.
Good morning, Chairman, and I'd like to take up Councillor Davies's best wishes for the season and wish everybody here, including the press, a very, very merriest of Christmases, and to all the staff and the officers of the county, and like Councillor Davies says, to everybody in Lincolnshire. We'll have a fantastic Christmas and I can't wait for the new year. Doge. Doge is a principle that we are working on all the time in the council, and we'll let you know what we found come the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I move on to ask Councillor Bridgewood to ask a question to Councillor Oliver, please?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Oliver, Lincoln Castle walls are in poor, deteriorating condition. Without immediate action and investment, the castle may have to close. How and why has this been allowed to happen?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Bridgewood. This abject neglect, brazen incompetence and utter betrayal of our national heritage by the Tories is nothing short of a scandalous outrage. For a decade, since the 2015 National Lottery funded Lincoln Castle Revealed project, Councillor Hill and his gang, for which most have diminished, as we can see, arrogantly assumed that a millennium-old fortress erected by none other than William the Conqueror investment and structural maintenance programme.
Chairman, could I...
It is
I
outrageous.
know this is, and Councillor Oliver is misleading the council. We have spent substantial sums of money on the council. So Councillor Oliver is actually, with her party political...
I think it says no
Right.
planned investment or maintenance programme.
Sorry,
Excuse me,
says
can I just ask that we go back to listening to the answer, and if we could be as quick as possible,
Yeah,
please. Thank
no
you.
problem. It is outrageous that they would overlook our crowning jewel, which pumps over 1.5 million directly into our coffers and fuels more than 7 million in local economic vitality. And it's not isolated to just Lincoln Castle, Councillor Hill. Our majestic windmills have also been left to rot under your
Point of order,
myopic...
Chair.
Go on.
Point of order.
Thank you.
We're asked to keep our questions to a minimum. Do we really have to listen to
Councillor
this?
Lee, thank you. Can I say, if you're going to move on, we've answered the question on the castle. If you've got any more to say on the council,
Yeah, I have, yeah.
but could you be very quick, because we are running out of time and we cannot keep on continuing.
But mark my words, this era of Tory dereliction ends now. True patriots and steadfast guardians from Reform UK have seized the reins. It will take time, but under our bold and ambitious
Point of
administration...
information, Chairman. This is supposed to be a question, not a political diatribe.
Thank
But can
you.
I remind the councillor that respect is expected. She does not refer to other councillors as a gang, and she clearly has not read her history of the huge investment put into the castle by this party.
Thank you, Councillor Brockway. Can I just now suggest that we finish now
Yeah,
and then move on?
absolutely,
So
Chair.
just one quick sentence, please.
Okay. It will take time, but under our bold and ambitious administration, Lincolnshire's irreplaceable heritage will be elevated as an unassailable priority. We will fiercely protect it and boldly champion it to ignite pride.
Thank you very much. Can I now move on now, please? Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I'd like to now move on to Councillor Richard Cleaver to ask a question of myself.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm now in my 5th year as a councillor here, and I don't think in that time we've yet had a visit to my division by the chairman. Could I invite you to come and visit my division during your term of office? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I won't stand to reply because it might cause a bit of a discussion. So what I will do say is that I'll be delighted to accept an invitation, and I'm sure that the Civic Office and yourself can sort something out. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Councillor Clark with a question to Councillor Chain, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Morning, Councillor. After reporting local surface flooding on Fixmire Street, the reply often refers to extreme weather, with drains becoming overwhelmed. Keeping this in mind, how is the authority going to address the risk of flooding in the future that's due to climate change? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor McGonigal. Councillor Chain, sorry.
Councillor Clark, thank you for your question. Whether it's due to climate change or whether it's due to weather, we will see an amount of flooding throughout the county. We are working to get the remedial work done to repair the affected drains. There are a number of those drains which are riparian owned and that we have no control over, but we are doing what we can to alleviate the problem. Quite often, particularly on road flooding, we find that we have an agglomeration of water on the road itself is simply not running away through the underground system. This requires more than simply cleaning the pots. So we're working diligently towards that, and hopefully we'll see some improvement in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chain. If we could move on to Councillor Crawley with a question to Councillor McGonigal.
Thank you, Chairman, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. I'm trying out some new glasses today, so we'll see how we go. As you know, Councillor McGonigal, Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue has for many years organised its assets on a resource-to-risk strategy, so we can respond to fires, flooding, bariatric rescue, animal rescue, and support our colleagues in the police and ambulance services. As we are a large and a predominantly rural county, we maintain 38 fire stations across Lincolnshire and have specialist equipment at key locations to ensure that we can respond to incidents as quickly as possible. This strategy has been informed by decades of experience and backed up by empirical data to ensure that we have the right equipment and the right people with the right training in the right places. We purchase land from the MOD so we can invest in Waddington Training Centre and recently invested in the new control centre software. And last year we invested heavily in a fleet of new technical rescue vehicles. And I know that work continues on the rolling programme of replacing our fleet of fire appliances when they reach the end of their serviceable life. The last administration made a manifesto pledge that we would maintain all 38 fire stations so we could continue our promise to our communities to keep them safe, no matter where they live in our county. It was also in our plans to begin the process of auditing and updating all our fire stations to ensure that they comply with future health and safety regulations for firefighters. So these plans included replacing the existing station at Leverton, which is now too small to comfortably accommodate our modern 18-ton appliances.
Can I just say we're going to be running out of time?
Yeah. This is my final paragraph. And last year, from January to December, Leverton Fire Station responded to 137 call-outs. That's an incredibly important community fire station in the south of our county. Can you confirm today, Councillor McGonigal, that you will continue with their plans for the new purpose-built fire station at Leverton, so all the communities it serves will continue to be protected? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Corey. Unfortunately, it's not something that I'm able to confirm at this point. We're still going through the budget setting process. So, as my colleague, Councillor Matthews, alluded to, all will be revealed when the budget is confirmed in February. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move on quickly and just please remember the time we've got to Councillor Robinson with a question to Councillor Kelly, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. The local economy is shrinking. Taxes and energy costs are higher than ever before, and small businesses are struggling to survive. Unemployment in this country is now higher than it was during peak COVID times, and people's standard of living is falling faster than during the Gordon Brown administration. Now, we all know that Labour absolutely despise people who want to succeed in life. But Councillor Kelly, I want to know, what are you doing locally to support small businesses within Lincolnshire who feel as though the national government is actively trying to make them fail?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Robinson, for your question. Yes, the small business community do feel that this government is creating the conditions to make them fail by implementing measures that actually constrain growth, by increasing the tax load and costs of operating on already overtaxed and burdened businesses, whilst removing the level of assurance that business leaders and investors need before committing longer-term expenditure, resources and effort. The risk v reward is out of kilter and loaded with increased risk and cost, which is as a result of a government out of its depth, with the price of failure and pain being borne by many, including Lincolnshire SME business community. We continue to provide direct advice to businesses through the Business Lincolnshire Growth Hub. This year to date, the Growth Hub has assisted close to 1,000 local SME businesses. Demand for advice on resource cost and AI is on the increase amongst this sector. The effectiveness and success of the Business Lincolnshire Growth Hub was clearly evident when I attended the annual manufacturing conference a few weeks ago in Boston, with over 150 local businesses represented, with many business leaders saying that if it wasn't for LCC support, their businesses would not have survived. Mr. Chairman, as you know, we have a portfolio of light industrial units and business centres with around 150 tenants. More than 50% of the businesses have said that they don't have access to the right premises. So our portfolio is very important in creating the conditions for their businesses and others to succeed. The portfolio is close to capacity, and we retain an element of redundancy to support startups, as there are few turnkey sites available in the county. We recognise that bigger businesses are important to Lincolnshire, because when they invest, the whole community benefits through extra spend in the local economy. We have a key account management relationship with 50 major businesses in the county, and we promote the county to businesses wishing to grow in Lincolnshire at events like DSEI, the Global Defence Equipment Industry event, which is held every 2 years in London. Mr. Chairman, when the Prime Minister and Chancellor open up their Christmas presents from Lord Alley this year, I'm sure the PM will get another expensive pair of rose-tinted glasses to replace the ones he has worn away through overuse this year. And the Chancellor will likely receive a gold-plated abacus to help her get back to basics in understanding and passing her Key Stage 1 exam in mathematics. But there will be no free gifts
Point of
for
order,
SMEs
Chair. This has
this
gone
year.
on for 3 minutes.
It's not a point of order, but I am going to say that if we carry on with these long answers and questions, we're going to run out of time, and we will have to revert to some written questions being given. And that is where I'm coming from now. We have 30 minutes left, and I think it's about, we're a third of the way through, if that.
Okay. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I believe the Cabinet Office nativity play has been cancelled this year, as 3 wise men couldn't be found, and apparently Boris Johnson needed consoling as he applied for the role of the ass, but alas was pipped to the post by the Secretary of State for Justice
Right,
and
thank
Lord
you.
Chancellor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Councillor Kelly, and I will repeat that these are questions specifically on matters for response. We obviously have got quite a lot of pre-written stuff, which does create some issues when we're there. So the next question will be from Councillor Dilks to Councillor McGonigal.
Good morning, all. My question is to Councillor McGonigal in his capacity as Exec Member for Community Safety and Liaison with the Police. Happy Christmas, one and all. On top of concerns about the democratic deficit being exacerbated with the current round of local government reorganisation, I'm now worried about local policing. On top of concerns about the specifically given last month's government announcement that they'll scrap police and crime commissioners and the panels brought in to increase local accountability of policing and potentially replace them in Lincolnshire with a policing board made up of just 2 non-politician members, as well as the Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire and the leader of Lincolnshire County Council, as if they haven't got enough to do already. And secondly, given the government's update last week announcing that their intention to scrap 43 police forces across England and Wales and replace them with a dozen so-called super forces, and finally recognising cuts announced to resources for neighbourhood policing this week, announced by the Chief Constable of Lincolnshire. Can I ask you what you're doing on behalf of this council to ensure that policing in this country and in Lincolnshire remains locally accountable and that we don't lose traditional policing by consent in this country? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Dilks. Unfortunately, I'm struggling to understand where that falls within my portfolio, although what I can assure you of is that we work very closely with lots of different partnerships across Lincolnshire to ensure that we're doing all we can to reduce the amount of crime that we have across the county, and also to ensure that we're working closely with other entities across Lincolnshire to achieve that. I do have regular meetings with the current Police and Crime Commissioner where we share our best practice, and I'll pass on your comments to him directly. And hopefully that answers your question, Councillor Dirks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lee, with a question.
I was advised that the councillor was the right member to ask.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, but we need to move on. Councillor Lee talking to question to Councillor Chain, please.
Thank you, Chair, and a Merry Christmas and a very peaceful New Year to everybody here. I'm sure Council will be relieved to hear that mine's a local matter and I don't need a party political performance in response. It's a very easy one. On Riseholme Road, near the roundabout, there's a small cul-de-sac. It's called Thonnock Close, and at least one member of the press who's here today will be familiar with it. Residents have been suffering nuisance parking since the beginning of the academic term in September, and at one point, access to the close was blocked for an ambulance, and there were some really distressing consequences, which I won't go into. Highways have agreed to have double yellow lines there, but we've still got to do the consultation and all the rest of the work, and that generally takes about 6 months. So my question is, if or when we get the go-ahead for the double yellow lines, will you help me get this prioritised so we can get them in place? Because it's been blocked again since then as well. It keeps happening. But I wanted to, do you agree with me that those people who could help stop this happening really ought to be doing just that?
Councillor Chain.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Lee, thanks for your question. I think, I don't know the area, but I think this is the one that we met and discussed. No, this is a different one.
It's near BG, that roundabout there.
Okay. In any event, yes, this isn't an unusual sort of a problem. And as I'm sure you're aware, that the Highway Service is incredibly busy, not just with double yellow lines, but with an awful lot of other maintenance work. But I will see what I can do to prioritise this a little more quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Councillor Parkinson with a question to Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you, Chair. Since my election in May, I've had the honour and the privilege to learn and to see about all of the hard work from everybody in our Children's Services Department. The work that they do is fantastic. It's often unseen, incredibly selfless in everything that they do. So, first of all, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everybody involved in there. I know it's an incredibly difficult job, such an important job in Lincolnshire, so a massive thank you. With this, I would like to ask Councillor Oliver, is there any update with regards to the expansion of the special school provision in my hometown of Grantham?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Parkinson, and your kind words surrounding the service. It really is an unbelievable service and provides so much to so many of our residents within the county. I'm ensuring that we are delivering on our commitment to our ambitious Better Belonging Lincolnshire strategy, ensuring that children with special educational needs and disabilities can access high-quality education closer to home. The Grantham SEND project is the first in a county-wide programme of investment setting the pace for the delivery of at least 8 specialist classrooms and a minimum of 88 new SEND places for Grantham and the surrounding areas. With 9.5 million ring-fenced, I am extremely proud to confirm that the first phase of this flagship project is now very much underway. This initial investment marks the start of a sustained approach to expanding local SEND provision and reducing reliance on out-of-county placements. Our overwhelming commitment to creating inclusive learning environments where every child can thrive. And while we're just on the subject of SEND, I find it incredibly disappointing that Councillor Davis would resort to scaremongering and an attempt to damage our outstanding children's services that work so tirelessly to support our vulnerable children and their families.
Councillor Oliver, I understand.
How dare you use our SEND children as a
Councillor Oliver, I understand your concerns, but we need to be moving on with these questions which are based on answering the question which is asked, not making all these other statements. Thank you very much. I'd like to then ask Councillor Baxter to ask Councillor Brooks.
Good morning, Chair, and happy Christmas to you and everyone else in the chamber, and Happy New Year and happy holidays. I'm grateful for and I think you can agree with me that what we've seen this morning so far shows why party politics has no place in local government. I'm grateful for the training delivered on draft waste and minerals proposals that was delivered on the 1st of December and for the recording that is still available. In 2024, the Council conducted a Regulation 18 consultation. There have been thousands of responses, and the most contentious part of the plan was the very unwelcome proposal for a quarry to the land east of West Steeping. Residents have had no formal response to their concerns during this calendar year. The Regulation 19 consultation on a draft waste and minerals plan is scheduled for the coming summer. This coincides with the summer holiday when everyone's away, but also with the likely announcement of the LGR proposals for Lincolnshire, which will see the County Council abolished. May I ask Councillor Brooks what will become of a draft minerals plan if the consultation response rate is as high as last time, and if the consultation responses require a revision to the draft plan, and what will happen to it if the process isn't completed by the end of 2026 or by the end of this authority's existence?
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Baxter, for your question. If the draft plan isn't completed by the time we go to local government reorganisation, it will continue with the new unitary council. Everything that's put in place here will continue with the unitary as same as if the district does something, that will continue with the unitary.
Can we just keep to the one question, please?
Obviously, it would be with the unitary that is in the area of the quarry or wherever it is, or the plan will be split between the two.
Right.
Assuming that we get two unitaries.
Right.
I think we'll only get one, though.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going through, Chair. The next question will be Councillor Dyer to Councillor Matthews, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. During the local election campaign, Reform UK made it clear their opposition to the Chief Executive's pay. At his first meeting as leader, Councillor Matthews repeated these concerns. This council has now appointed a new Chief Executive on a slightly reduced pay of £204,522, compared to the former Chief Executive's pay of £209,997. Ahead of the upcoming retirement of the current post holder at the end of March, the new Chief Executive started his role on the 1st of December. The Council is now paying 2 full-time Chief Executive salaries for 4 months. For those of you who can't do maths, that's for a third of a year. We all agree a handover period is important, but context here matters, Chairman. The outgoing Chief Executive is not handing over to some outsider from far away. They're handing over to their long-standing deputy and head of finance. So my question to Councillor Matthews is this: will he publish the full handover plan and allow public scrutiny of his decision to have such a lengthy overlap, which adds tens of thousands of pounds to the Lincolnshire taxpayers' bill and is simply far longer than any examples I can find? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dyer.
Thank you for the question. It's a really important role. It's something that has to go through the process of handing over properly. I don't want there to be any mistakes, neither does the outgoing Chief Executive or the new Chief Executive. I think it's pretty low of you to start complaining about a handover process that is in place to make sure that everything runs smoothly. As for the money these people are on, I don't disagree. It's absolutely crazy. I don't understand it. Most of the people in this room do not understand how they earn so much money, but we are guided by the marketplace. We don't have a choice in that. Did the best that I could. I got it reduced a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. The next question will be from Councillor Mrs Overton, MBE, to Councillor Matthews.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I think that I'm going to raise a subject which I think our leader will be sympathetic to. One of the biggest threats facing our county today is the march of the vast industrial solar smothering our productive farmland. The infrastructure bill went through Parliament yesterday, and on the 6th of January, Fos Green, one of the 3 applications that we've got in my area, covering 3,379 acres, that's bigger than a London borough. and that's proposed to go through on the 6th of January to the public inquiry. Can I please be assured that this council will respond strongly at that inquiry, including the impacts of the health on people, that's including mental health, the health on people and wildlife, as well as the issues that we usually raise, such as the impact on changing the very nature of our countryside from a rural countryside growing food to industrial land? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Overton. On this, we are in one. We agree completely. It is absolutely outrageous what this government and the previous government consider is an okay thing to do with Lincolnshire. And I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. I will do all that I can to stop these dreadful, dreadful factories for creating electricity. They're not solar farms, because they're not producing food, which is what farms should do. And I will lay down in front of those bulldozers, I'm sure, as you will join me, in trying to stop them as best we can. And I will do everything that I can, and this council will do everything that we can to try and stop this dreadful blight on our beautiful county.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we could move on to Councillor Sheard asking a question to Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you, Chairman. May I also take this opportunity to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Councillor Oliver, you have recently reviewed supported accommodation for 16 to 17-year-olds and care leavers. Can you explain what you are changing and what difference it will make to our young people in Lincolnshire?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Sheard. Yes, we are improving the places that our young people are living and also the support around them. This is so more of them can stay safe, close to home and build on their independence. We've listened to what young people want and need, and we are shifting towards more single, self-contained places rather than shared housing, because that is so much better when it comes to stability. And a lot of these young people have faced, crisis and trauma within their lives, and we need to make sure that we are delivering on their behalf. So we are expanding our council and supported accommodation and including supported lodging. So I just want to do a little plug, Chair, if I may. If anyone is listening that can offer a fostering placement or a supported lodgings placement, then if they can please visit our website and look at focus fostering or supported lodgings, then we would be really grateful. It makes a huge difference to our young people's lives, and it enables them to build the confidence that they need to get the next steps into adult life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we could move on to Councillor Cook, please, to a question to Councillor Chain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year. Councillor Shane, residents in a number of areas are increasingly concerned that requests for additional streets to be included within residents' parking schemes are currently being met with responses stating that there is no funding or capacity to extend the schemes, as you can imagine causing considerable frustration, particularly in my hometown of Stamford. Would you confirm what the Council's current position is, and will you commit to reviewing the resourcing and funding and overall approach to residents' parking schemes to support our local communities?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Cook, for your question. When you say residents' parking schemes, I presume you mean disabled schemes or any schemes? Schemes that are already currently available, residential parking, as you know, is paid for by the residents. And I see no objection why that sort of scheme is not agreeable. It doesn't necessarily cost the council money. And as far as I'm aware, there has been no hold-up with any such application for those kinds of schemes. If you're aware, please do bring it to my attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we could move on to Councillor Hill, OBE, to a question to Councillor Matthews.
Thank you very much. As previously discussed, and it's a question to the leader, it is an honour to lead this council, not only all of us and all our staff. And as an aside, if you could please try and deter your portfolio holders from making false statements. I know some of them want to be MPs, but frankly, it's no excuse to turn this into a party political jamboree. My question is that you are our leader and of the staff as well. But also, as leader of this council, you are our ambassador, not only regionally, nationally, but further afield. So in terms of the reputation of this council and all of us, actually, would you agree that it is important that your actions are seen to be dignified and appropriate to your role, especially particularly on social media?
Yes.
Thank you. If we could move on then to Councillor Wimhurst with a question to Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. I'd firstly like to thank Councillor Oliver for the update on Lincoln Castle. It's fantastic to see that it's finally getting the resource and attention that it desperately needs and thoroughly deserves. But my question today is in relation to the last Children's Scrutiny Committee, where consideration was given to a short-stay children's home. Can you please explain how this children's home will be used by the Council? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Wimhurst. I'm incredibly proud to be able to bring forward this much-needed provision for our children in care. This home will mean that the children who are struggling to settle in a placement, who are often in crisis, will get the intense support that they need for a certain amount of time in our home. They will then be able to move forward onto a permanent placement within a calm transition in a very planned way. It will avoid us having to place these children in high-cost, expensive needs placements, as our own teams will have highly supported them in a therapeutic way. This will save the Council much-needed funding, but most importantly, will achieve better outcomes for some of our most vulnerable children in Lincolnshire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we could move on to Councillor Taylor with a question to Councillor Sean Matthews, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Merry Christmas to you and our staff and colleagues. Many would agree that the BBC has made mistakes recently and clearly needs to do better in the future. However, the local BBC service, TV and radio in Lincolnshire, provides top quality coverage, news, sport, local democracy, and promotes many community and charity events across our great county. It's also a lifeline for many of our vulnerable and isolated residents. It's also a time that the charter renewal process has started at exactly the same time as the BBC is facing a legal challenge from President Trump. We know some would cheer and celebrate this action. However, if the BBC faces financial difficulties, it's likely to target its cuts on local output. Can I ask the leader to urgently commit to writing to the BBC and Department of Culture, Media and Sport to pose any further reductions to its local television and radio coverage? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Matthews.
Thank you for the question, and it's great to see the BBC here today. I had a fantastic visit to Boston for the BBC Carol service a couple of last weekend, I think it was. It was genuinely, it had been a very, very busy day, and I turned up there a bit knackered, and I had the time of my life. It really bolstered me, and I recommend going to the BBC Carol service next year if you get the opportunity. Yes, I'll take you up on that invite. I will write to the government. I get on very well with the local BBC up here. There are problems with the BBC nationally, I accept that, but I think we do a good job, generally speaking, up here. Thank you.
Thank you. If we can move on to Councillor Brooks with a question for Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you, Chair, and Merry Christmas to all of you. I'd like to echo Councillor Parkinson's comments on the children's services. They do a fantastic job, so thank you for that. The question is, can you give the Council an update on family hubs and what is happening through them to support families in Lincolnshire? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Brooks. Again, I second your comments surrounding the service. Our early year offer continues to grow and is such an important part of our work. Getting a great start in life is without doubt the best way for a child to thrive, and we want that for every single child in Lincolnshire. We have had additional funding of £2.1 million for those interventions, and that will allow us to expand our offer, which already includes antenatal classes, neonatal support, mental health pathways, and parental programmes like the Incredible Years. I would urge all families in Lincolnshire with their young children to find out where their nearest centre is and get involved. There really is so much going on, and it will help you build an incredible network for moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Kendrick to Councillor Condell.
I too would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, Mr. Chairman.
Richard Tice MP recently claimed that local government pension schemes are badly managed and wasting money. In the light of the strong performance of the LCC pension fund, for example, it's a 7% return on investment, would you assure him that our local fund is doing well and ask him to desist from denigrating our good local performance and just purely for political purposes? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Kendrick, and I wish to add my season's greetings to you all and to all of Lincolnshire. As I'm sure you know, the pension scheme's fiduciary duty is to ensure that we have enough money in the pension scheme to pay the pensioners when they fall due, and to ensure that employers themselves are not burdened with additional costs so that they go bust and cannot fulfil their pension commitments. So looking at how pensions are funded and how they are managed is always worthwhile looking at.
Thank you. If I can to ask Councillor Robinson to question for Councillor Chain, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On October 6th, residents of Tetney were presented with a proposal of 153 new houses next to the existing golf course. This represents a significant expansion for a village that already faces a notable shortfall in essential services. Following a well-attended public meeting on November 16th, it is clear that residents are deeply concerned about the impact of this development, specifically regarding highway safety and the exacerbation of existing flooding issues. I understand we are due to meet in the new year in Northcotes in relation to the planned resurfacing on the A1031, of which I'm grateful to you and the team for raising the priority of this resurface. Can I ask that this site visit also include a walkthrough of Tetney Village, so I may discuss the concerns raised by residents to you and relevant officers? Thank you.
Councillor Chain.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Robinson, for your question. Yes, I'll take pleasure in joining you there. I'll liaise with the officers and see if I can get somebody to attend and do what we can. Thank you indeed.
Right, thank you. Councillor Martin to Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Last month, this council voted in favour of the Your Lincolnshire Local Government Reorganisation proposal. We produced a nice glossy brochure which formed the basis of the documents we sent to government. I'm sure you and your colleagues read this most important document from cover to cover, and you'll have seen that on page 69, under the heading Environment Strategies, it outlines the council's new environment policy, and I quote, "This policy is to succeed the former Green Master Plan document and will provide long-term strategy for LCC." It then states potential opportunities through practical initiatives to improve energy efficiency and reduce costs through low-carbon heating systems in public buildings. So our new environment policy will include low-carbon heating systems. This was voted through unanimously by your administration on November 21st. Yet that very same week, we have the Mayor, Andrea Jenkins, Richard Tice MP, and our leader, Councillor Matthews, all going on social media contradicting this policy by attacking the NHS spending 22 million on low-carbon heating systems at Boston Pilgrim Hospital. So can you clarify, what is this council's actual position on low-carbon heating systems? And will you have to write to the government to tell them that the most important document this council has produced in the last 50 years, you all forgot to read?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Martin. We in the environment portfolio are all about saving money. And if we can save money, whether it's low cost, whether it cuts carbon, however it saves money for our residents, that is what we want to do. If the systems work, we will put them in. If they save money, that's all good. If they cut carbon, that's a benefit of saving money. We're here for the residents and we want to save money. Oh, and I did read the document. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The penultimate question will be from Councillor Roberts to Councillor McGonigal.
Thank you, Chair. May I also wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas and a peaceful New Year. Councillor McGonigal, given the recent break-ins at our fire stations across the county, What are we doing to mitigate this risk? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Roberts. Yes, it's absolutely disgraceful that there are criminals out there targeting our emergency services and stealing life-saving equipment from our stations. We're working very closely with the corporate property team at the moment to try and strengthen the security that we have on the stations. We've got some temporary measures in place that, as I'm sure Councillor Rowe knows, not all of our residents have been very reciprocative of. But yes, we will do all that we can to ensure that we do. And also, whilst I've got the public platform, if anybody is able to speak to their residents and ensure that they're keeping vigilant around our stations and reporting any sort of suspicious activities and crimes there, would be much appreciated. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. And then finally, could I ask Councillor Woolley a question to Councillor Chain?
Chairman, Councillor Cheney, given the number of policy decisions within the traffic management plan review that are due to be finalised shortly, and the position of the weight limit delivery is also within that document, can you give me a timeline of the meetings when the next Transport and Highways meeting are going to be discussing this particular policy? I understand it's going to be in the new year. Is it the first meeting in the new year? Just please give me an idea. Thank you.
Councillor Cheney.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Woolley. Indeed, this is something I have been looking at for quite some time. Obviously not long enough. It's, as I'm sure you'll understand, it's an extensive document, and it's something that I want to get right. I was not going to be pressured into making an early decision before I double-checked the detail of that document. But I can assure you that it is prioritised, and I will be looking into it personally with all vigour in the new year, early in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now that brings us to the end of questions. At one stage I didn't think we would get through in 45 minutes, so apologise if I cut anyone short, but I did want to make sure that everybody had that opportunity to ask their questions to represent their local area and ensuring that their residents get good buck for their money. So could I move on now to item 8, which is the review of the financial regulations and budget definition within the Constitution. I believe that the monitoring officer has circulated that paper, and it is from page 49 to 83. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Catton.
I'd like to move that the Council considers the contents of this report and approves the amendments to the financial regulations and budget definitions within the Constitution as detailed in Appendix A and B of the report.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Litchfield.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Do you want to reserve your right to speak? Yes. Okay. Thank you. If I can move on then, are there any speakers? Councillor Hill.
Excuse me. Thank you. We have moved an amendment. I'm sorry. It was given to Democratic Services, and I think the portfolio holder is aware. And I have circulated the proposed amendment. And the proposed amendment, which I'd like to now move, refers to Appendix A, B16, which is all about the issue of delegation of environments, which is where officers move money around, which, of course, with such a massive organisation as ours, it's very important that they have that ability to do that so that we're not constantly having to meet as councillors to approve those decisions. So within Appendix A as it currently stands, the proposal is on paragraph B16 is to delete quite a lot of paragraphs. And the effect of all of those deletions is that, in effect, for example, environments up to 250,000 will be made by the relevant chief officer in consultation with the Section 151 officer. No involvement of members whatsoever. So as I've said, and if you go down the list, there is quite limited engagement of officers. And the last executive, we had quite a debate about this, and we thought, although it is right that officers have the ability to move money around, it's very important that there is some formal oversight of that, which is why we had these measures put in to make sure that although that happened, there was a record of it, a public record of it, not just to councillors but to everybody, so we can see. And I'm sure most of what is done is entirely above board, but for example, a chief officer could do multiple violence of 250,000 and nobody would necessarily know. So the proposal on the amendment, Chairman, is to reinstate all those requirements, not to fetter the role of the officers, but merely ensure that they do report publicly to the council and to the public, really, what is going on. And I think in terms of visibility and accountability, that's only the right thing to do. So I'd like to formally move that is there, and it has been circulated. So you'll see the red line is the bit which will be retained from what's in the epitome of this council, and the rest of it is reinstating what is proposed to be taken out.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Do we have a seconder, please? A seconder for Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Very happy to second this amendment. And I appreciate looking at some of your faces. You're probably thinking, God, you know, this is a bit technical and boring and dry, isn't it? But I can assure you, and I offer this in the most non-political way, I promise you, Councillor Oliver, this is really important. It doesn't seem it, but we hold you guys to account in this chamber here. By reintroducing that, it means that the very good people, and there's a great team around this central team, aren't able, and there's no suspicion or suggestion that they're doing things that we can't in turn hold you to account for. Now, it seems like a really technical thing, but I would urge you, we put this in several years ago, it will involve some awkward conversations, but my advice, and you take it or leave it, is that it does mean that if things get a bit tetchy in some areas, and I'm not saying that anybody in this chamber would do that, any of the senior officer team, if anybody was ever tempted to move a little bit of money around to try and smooth over a problem in one area, they do need to come and have a conversation with either the portfolio holder or, if the money's higher, the executive as a whole. So I could thoroughly endorse Councillor Hill's proposed amendment, and I would urge you to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Can I now just remind people of the rules of debate at this stage, that we've had an amendment proposed and seconded. We will now debate that, and the end of the amendment debate, the mover of the original motion, which will be Councillor Catton, has the right to reply. It won't be the councillors on my left on this occasion, but Councillor Catton is only able to give a right of reply and not speak during the meeting. Now, apologies for going through it, but I don't think we've had many amendments like this before, and I just wanted to make sure there was no confusion on a thing. So now I'd like to open it up for debate. Councillor Lee.
Thanks, Chair. I don't think I need to say an awful lot because I think much of what needed to be said has been said already, and I agree with the points that have been made, and the Labour Group will be supporting this amendment.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Councillor Dilks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Councillor Davis is right. It is technical, it's boring, and it's dry. And I don't pretend to understand it. Right, I did read it, and I had to ask for advice, and I'm very grateful that Michelle Grady came back with that some reassurances. But I think my question will be, if I may ask a question, I'm a big believer in scrutiny, and I've got to say the best scrutiny is always pre-scrutiny of a decision. And so I welcome that. So I think my question really is, and I'm told, you know, in the that the amendments to the financial regulations are about increasing public accountability and transparency. But my question is the Conservative amendment, would that increase public accountability and scrutiny and transparency? And if it does, then I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that it will do, in answer to your question. Are there any other comments? Councillor Matthews.
Sorry, point of order. Does the chairman give
apologies, I was...
an opinion on that?
I've done it now. I do apologise. Well, I can withdraw it, but I withdraw the comment, but... Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to help you out, yes, it does increase the opportunity to scrutinise what's going on. It makes sure that open decisions are made, and it makes sure that the public know what we're doing. I'm a great believer in open politics. People should know what we're doing and why it's happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and apologies once again for my mistake. Any further comments? If there's no further comments, Councillor Catton, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Chairman. I have to disagree with that. You have to read the amendment, and it hasn't changed. The whole purpose of this, and it has gone through Audit Committee with their recommendation, it is to improve transparency and accountability to the officers who are in charge of those sectors. So I would reject this amendment.
Right, thank you. Well, seeing as that, then I will take the amendment to the vote. I believe you...
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I thought the administration was in charge, not the officers.
I will now move to the vote.
Mr. Chairman, could I move for a recorded vote on this amendment, please?
Right. Recorded vote. I think we have the 14 members required. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. We will go through now the recorded vote. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. So we are voting on the amendment put forward by the Conservative group as circulated. I will read out the name of each member. For those voting for the amendment, say yes. Those voting against, say no. And those abstaining, say abstain. So I'll now run down councillor names in alphabetical order. So Councillor Arundel.
No.
Councillor Bamford. No. Councillor Baxter. Yes. Councillor Bean. No. Councillor Beecham.
No.
Councillor Bowles. Yes. Councillor Bridgewood. Councillor Mrs Brockway. Yes. Councillor Danny Brooks. No. Councillor Jimmy Brooks. No. Councillor Bunny.
Abstain.
Councillor Carey. No. Councillor Carrington. Yes. Councillor Catton. No. Councillor Corey. Yes. Councillor Chapman. Yes. Councillor Cheen. No. Councillor Clark. Yes. Councillor Cleaver. Councillor Collier. No. Councillor Condell. Councillor Cook. Yes. Councillor Daish. No. Councillor Davies. Yes. Councillor Dilks. Yes. Councillor Dyer. Yes. Councillor East. No. Councillor Edgoose Zagorski. No. Councillor Findlay. No. Councillor French. No. Councillor Gibson. No. Councillor Grantham. Councillor Hassan. No. Councillor Hastings. No. Councillor Hill, OBE. Yes. Councillor Hume.
No.
Councillor Kelly.
No.
Councillor Kendrick.
Yes.
Councillor King. No. Councillor Lee. Councillor Litchfield. No. Councillor Locke. No. Councillor Martin. Yes. Councillor Matthews. No. Councillor McGonigal. No. Councillor Murray. Yes. Councillor Oliver. No. Councillor Mrs Overton OBE. Yes. Councillor Parkinson. No. Councillor Redfern. No. Councillor Reeve. No. Councillor Roberts. No. Councillor Bailey Robinson. No. Councillor Reuben Robinson. No. Councillor Rowe. Yes. Councillor Sheard. No. Councillor Smith. No. Councillor Sneath. Councillor Taylor. Yes. Councillor Mrs Vernon.
Yes.
Councillor Wimhurst.
No.
Councillor Woodruff.
No.
Councillor Mrs Woolley. Yes. Councillor Wright. Yes. And Councillor Young.
Yes.
Two abstentions, yeah. Thank you. The voting was for 23, against 39, and 2 abstentions. So the motion, also the amendment, falls. We'll now move to the debate on the motion, which was proposed by Councillor Catton and seconded by Councillor Litchfield. Have I got any speakers on the substantial motion? Councillor Matthews?
Just a slight point of order. Is it a motion or is it just an item on the agenda?
I do apologise, it's an item of the agenda. I'm not doing too well today.
Point of order.
You'll get the hang of it.
Sorry, point of order.
Didn't the council need to vote for the substantive?
Yeah, we're going to, yes.
No, the previous item. Sorry to be a pain. I think we should vote. The amendment failed, so then the council...
Yeah, no, that's what we're about to do.
Oh, right, I'm
so
sorry.
I do apologise. We'll get it right. Okay, so let's get it clear. We're now going to open up to debate on the previous motion. Nobody wishes to speak, so we'll go straight item.
Chairman,
So we will go...
Chairman, we didn't suspend standing orders, so I think you... I don't want to be a pain, but I should have had the right... I didn't want to use my right of reply at the end of that debate. So you went straight to Councillor Catton. I think you should have come to me, then had the vote, and then...
Yes,
So,
okay,
I wasn't going to say anything, so in effect it means nothing, but I just think procedurally we need...
I do apologise, Councillor Hill. It's my fault. So we will now, assuming nobody else wishes to speak, we will go through to the motion, the item of the agenda, item 8. All those... Councillor Lee.
Can we have another recorded vote, please?
We have one proposer for a recorded vote. Is anyone going to second that? We need to stand if we are supporting. Okay, we will be going for recorded vote, so I'd like to ask Andrew Cookham to go through the list.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so we are now voting on the main item agenda. So I will read out the name of each member in alphabetical order. Those voting for the main item say yes, those voting against say no, and those abstaining say abstain. So starting with Councillor Arundel.
Yes.
Councillor Bamford. Yes. Councillor Baxter. Abstain. Councillor Bean. Yes. Councillor Beecham. Yes. Councillor Bowles. Councillor Bridgewood? Yes. Councillor Mrs Brockway?
No.
Councillor Brooks? Yes. Oh, sorry. Councillor Jimmy Brooks? Yes. Councillor Bunny?
Abstain.
Councillor Carey? Yes. Councillor Carrington? No. Councillor Catton? Yes. Councillor Corey? No. Councillor Chapman? Councillor Cheyne? Yes. Councillor Clark? No. Councillor Cleaver? Abstain. Councillor Collier? Councillor Condell, Councillor Cook, Councillor Daish, Councillor Davies, Councillor Dilks, Councillor Dyer, Councillor East, Councillor Edgoose-Zagorski, Councillor Findlay, Councillor French, Councillor Gibson, Councillor Grantham, Councillor Hassan, Councillor Hastings, Councillor Hill OBE, Councillor Hume, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Kendrick, Councillor King, Councillor Lee, Councillor Litchfield, Councillor Locke, Councillor Martin, Councillor Matthews, Councillor McGonigal, Councillor Murray, Councillor Oliver, Councillor Mrs Overton MBE, Councillor Parkinson, Councillor Redfern, Councillor Reeve, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Bailey Robinson, Councillor Reuben Robinson, Councillor Rowe, Councillor Sheard, Councillor Smith, Councillor Sneath, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Mrs Vernon? No. Councillor Wimhurst? Yes. Councillor Woodruff? Yes. Councillor Mrs Woolley? No. Councillor Wright? No. And Councillor Young?
Right, the result of the vote on the agenda item 8 is 440, against 19, and a 5 abstain. The agenda item is carried. So if we can now move on to agenda item number 9, the Council's Section 17 Crime and Disorder Reduction Strategy. The report by the Executive Director has been circulated, and it's pages 185 to 108 of your agenda pack. Do I have a proposer? Councillor McGonigal.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose agenda item number 9. Members of the Council, I'm pleased to present this for your approval. The Council's new Section 19 Crime Disorder Reduction Strategy for the years 25 to 28. This strategy is a statutory requirement under the Crime and Disorder Act of 1998, which places a duty on all local authorities to consider the impact of their decisions and actions on crime and disorder, including antisocial behaviour, substance misuse and reoffending. This strategy is not about introducing radical change. It formalises and strengthens the work we are already doing across Lincolnshire to keep our communities safe. It ensures that crime prevention and community safety are embedded across all council functions and services, supporting our wider commitment to public protection, safeguarding and community well-being. This strategy sets out 5 clear objectives. Embed crime prevention into all council services, so every decision considers its impact on crime and disorder. Promote proactive measures, including early intervention and community engagement to prevent crime and exploitation. Strengthen multi-agency collaboration by working with partners such as the Safer Lincolnshire Partnership, the Domestic Abuse Partnership and the Youth Justice Board. Equipping staff with the knowledge and tools to fulfil their Section 17 responsibilities and to monitor and evaluate our impact, ensuring accountability and continuous improvement. This is a whole council strategy. Every directorate has contributed to its development, and it aligns with our corporate ambitions and other key strategies, including the Safer Lincolnshire Partnership Strategy, the Domestic Abuse Strategy, and the Serious Violence Prevention Strategy. Approval today will allow us to 1. Establish an internal working group to oversee delivery. 2. Develop a coordinated action plan for the next 3 years. 3. Provide annual progress reports of scrutiny and CLT to ensure compliance and transparency. Chair, members, this strategy demonstrates our strong commitment to preventing crime and disorder and protecting the people of Lincolnshire. I commend the report and the attached strategy to Council and ask for your support in approving this recommendations, and pass my thanks on to the officers that have worked very hard to put this together, and also a special thank you to the monitoring officer for identifying this gap. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McGonigal. Have I got a seconder?
Happy to second.
Councillor Chatton. Okay. Do you wish to reserve your right to?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any speakers? Councillor Hill.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for that very comprehensive description. A little bit confused because earlier when Councillor Dilks asked you a question, you sort of said the police arrangements are nothing really to do with you. So I think give you an opportunity now just to fill in, because as Councillor Dilks rightly said, it's not only the abolition of the police and crime commissions and the panels, there are strong rumours that will be regionalisation of police forces, and that will probably mean that we are put in with East Midlands, and the result of that will be less police in Lincolnshire because there are much higher crime rates. So I'd just give you the opportunity to give some thoughts as to the risk of the government changes and how you propose to respond to them. Thank you.
Right, Councillor McGonigal, that will be part of your following winding up. Are there any other comments? Councillor Matthews.
Oh, I've seen going all Arabic on my screen. Never mind. I thought I'd take the opportunity to perhaps answer some of Councillor Dilks's concerns. Having been a police officer for many years and walked the beat back in the olden days, freezing myself to death out on the streets in the middle of the night, I think the decision by this government to talk about reducing police forces from 43 down to 12 is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And this council will do everything we can to try and prevent that from happening. The last thing we should be doing is taking away democracy from local, take away policing, that's the next one. Take away policing from local people. We should be doing quite the opposite. We should be talking to the locals far more as a police service and a police force within Lincolnshire, not distributing it around other counties and other areas. We are sparse enough with the police as it is at the moment. We do not need to make it even more sparse. And I will do everything I can to try and keep it as local as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Councillor Woolley.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just a small point, but on page 108, there is reference to a number of policies, related policies and documents, and it references equality and diversity policy. Now, as far as I can see, Lincolnshire County Council does not have a equality and diversity policy. It has a diversity and inclusion policy. I think this terminology comes from certainly Lincolnshire Police. I've seen it referenced elsewhere. So my point would be, are we including our own policy or are we including others? But in which case, either the website is out of date or this isn't correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. Yes, I broadly welcome this. It's right that we should have it, and once we've got this in place, hopefully we'll see tangible action on crime and criminal behaviour. It says in paragraph 5 of part 2, I think it is, under the 5 kind of objectives, that there will be KPIs going forwards. When do you expect the KPIs will be presented and to whom?
Thank you. Are there any further speakers before I ask someone? Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to congratulate the service for bringing this policy through. It's imperative that we have a strategy in place for crime and prevention reduction. In a very changing landscape where we are seeing crime and incidents on the rise, everybody feels less safe in their communities. So I'm just really pleased to see that this is coming through as a priority for us as an administration and as a council. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further people wishing to speak? In which case, Councillor McGonigal, if I could ask you to summarise and reply to the questions asked.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your questions and your comments. Apologies, Councillor Dilks. I was under the impression that your question was directed towards me about what I was going to do about the police force, over which I don't have any control within my portfolio. But I'll happily pick it up with you about the partnership work that we do with the police, and I commend Councillor Matthews' comments as well about the council supporting that. And yes, Councillor Baxter, when the KPIs will be, I'm not 100% sure is the honest answer, but I will come back to you in writing if that's okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Would you be able to make sure that that answer gets to all members?
Absolutely. No problem.
Thank you very much. So we've had the item 9 proposed, seconded. We've had the debate. So I'm going to move to the vote. Can I ask all those in favour? Okay. All those against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Right, that moves us on to the motions, and we'll go to the first one. The first motion has been submitted by the Reform Group, so over to Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chair. The government has announced plans to introduce a compulsory digital identity system for all UK residents. This proposal raises significant concerns about privacy, civil liberties and digital exclusion, particularly for the vulnerable groups such as older residents, those on low incomes and individuals without access to smartphones or reliable internet. Our concerns are digital exclusion. Many residents within Lincolnshire, especially in rural areas, lack reliable broadband or digital devices, making compliance difficult and discriminatory. Civil liberties. A mandatory digital ID risks creating a culture of constant monitoring and approval, undermining personal freedoms and trust in public institutions, including this council. Cost and complexity. Implementing such a scheme would require extensive IT infrastructure and training, diverting resources from essential local services, potentially to the detriment of the Lincolnshire residents. And effectiveness. There is no clear evidence that digital ID will prevent illegal working or immigration abuses. Rogue employers already ignore existing checks. And the role of the council. This scheme could turn councils into gatekeepers for national ID, rather than focusing on delivering vital services to residents, again potentially to the detriment of residential Lincolnshire folk. Therefore, we request that the leader of the council write to the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities, expressing the council's opposition to mandatory digital ID scheme and urging them to abandon those plans. And secondly, to urge all local Lincolnshire MPs to oppose any legislation introducing compulsory digital IDs. All this, Chairman, from a party that opposed voter ID. But as soon as they get into power, they decide that it's okay, voter ID can be part of the digital ID infrastructure. And when combined with the latest harebrained scheme, the national expansion of live facial recognition, a proposal which will bring cameras to every city, town and village, enabling real-time scanning of crowds and matching faces against the National Police watch list. Under this scheme, police could access passport and immigration image databases covering up to 45 million Britons. Doing this whilst cancelling elections, more being proposed last night to cancel elections. We are really living in an Orwellian dystopian nightmare, and I'm afraid it is the Tories to blame for it. Their dramatic failure in the last general election is to blame for letting these people into power. My other concerns is the lack of democracy. Where was this in the Labour manifesto? But let's face it, where was the family farm tax in the manifesto? Where was the national insurance contribution scheme in their manifesto? Where was the winter fuel cuts in their manifesto? And where was the two-tier pension reforms, which freezes personal allowances until 2031, bringing many state pensioners into tax liability? Digital ID consolidates vast amounts of money, vast amounts of personal data, health records, financial details, and even biometric information into a single system. This creates a powerful mechanism for surveillance. Even if it was introduced with good intentions, such systems can be misused, eroding the trust between citizens and the government. Safeguarding policies is not optional. It is the cornerstone of our democracy. It is a risk to security and the potential risk of exclusion. Not all residents have access to smartphones, reliable internet, or digital legacy, which requires these systems to navigate. Elderly citizens, rural communities, and those on low incomes could find themselves locked out of this essential service. Finally, the question of freedom and proportionality. Digital IDs can easily become a gateway to conditional access, where everyday activities depend on compliance with a centralised system. This motion was offered to the Tories to submit as a joint motion, something that has happened in other reform councils around the country. Unfortunately, the Minibus Party, or as they like to call themselves, the Survivors. Do you remember the Survivors as a BBC programme? Probably only Nigel and I remember it. Actually, I've got a better programme, The Walking Dead. They continue to use cartoons of Alan Sugar painting walls whilst crying. I don't understand what that's all about. We look for grown-up debate. We look to refuse digital ID.
Right.
Thank you.
Can we have a seconder, please?
Chairman, happy to second and reserve my right.
Thank you. I think I've got Councillor Rowe wishes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased the Leader of the Opposition is going to go along with his respect commitment made earlier. I'm not a big
Leader
fan
of the
this.
Council, actually.
I'm not a big fan of these motions. They tend to get very political, as this one's done. If we're going to do them, then surely we should have them as local things. I've got some suggestions of ones that might have probably been better put forward. Lincolnshire police funding, loss of rural policing, funding pressures on children and adult services, private fostering organisations are making profits from highly inflated pricing with little or no benefit going to the foster families, highways funding, centralisation of planning decisions. I was going to say fairer funding as well, but I'm pleased to see that our group's campaign over the last few years is actually getting benefits finally with extra money coming in this direction. Other items such as how wide parking bays should be, and should I really get my office painted? This is nationally an important subject, but motions should be more locally targeted. This smacks of orders from above. Has the managing director of the company, the limited company, decreed this motion should be put? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Baxter.
Thank you. I do have some sympathy with the description of the Britain we're living in now as becoming more like an Orwellian dystopian nightmare, but possibly for different reasons. But on the subject of digital ID, I support what the motion says. I agree that it's not really a Lincolnshire County Council issue, but if we must say that leaders have got to write letters to people, then I won't object to this one. I was against the digital ID scheme, or the ID scheme, when Tony Blair was trying to bring it in, and at that time it also included recording information about religion and race and other kinds of identity and so on. And when I discussed this at a European thing I went to with people that worked for the same company as me but in a different country, the people from Germany said, well, actually, we're not allowed to collect that information, not on the statistical forms or anything else. We are not allowed to record information on people's racial identity or religious identity for obvious historical reasons, and they are still true. So on this one, purely on the practicality of it, a digital ID that is stored on smartphones, I'm sure we're all technically literate within the room, but we've probably all got family members that struggle to make a phone call with a smartphone, let alone dig out their digital ID. So it just furthers the digital divide. So I've got no truck with this. I'm in the place where, unless I am committing a crime, if people in authority want to ask me who I am, my date of birth, and what I'm doing, frankly, mind your own business. So I'm with you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dyer.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And thank you, Councillor Matthews, for proposing this in your usual way. And I think during your speech, I may have heard an endorsement for the Conservative Party at the general election just there. And I appreciate half of Reform UK voted Tory at the general election, but still, thank you for your endorsement. It's very much appreciated. Now, the Conservative group will be supporting this motion, but you made some sort of attack on us for not seconding it, for instance. And I know Councillor Baxter likes to pick up typos, mainly apostrophes, but there's a reason, Chairman, the Conservative group cannot support this motion. No. But I'll get to it. There's a reason we cannot support it. It's because this letter won't be sent to anybody. Because it is to be sent to the Prime Minister, who we know who that is, but the Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities. That job role doesn't exist, Chairman. Nobody in the land is the Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities. And just on the .gov website here, the current Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government is Steve Reed MP. So, Chairman, if I may, and I haven't had permission from my group leader on this, so it may just be me proposing this without a seconder. We cannot, as a council, vote on this because it is technically inaccurate. So I, therefore, in my name, Chairman, propose that we delete the title, Secretary of State for Levelling Up, Housing and Communities, and insert the title, Housing, Communities and Local Government. That, Chairman, will make this acceptable so that Councillor Matthews can then write a letter to the Secretary of State, and hopefully some one of my colleagues will second that.
Is that a formal proposal for an amendment?
I think now my good friend from Market Deeping has seconded it. Yes, it is, Chairman.
Oh, so it wasn't. Oh, thank you. Okay, Councillor Baxter, are you prepared to second that?
Yes, and I'll reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. So that now takes us to an amended item here. So we have to discuss the amendment. Just get me right, my mind round this one. Have we got anybody who... Yeah, I was going to say, have we got anyone who wishes to speak?
It's very kind of Councillor Dyer to put out my error, and we fully support the amendment. Thank you.
Right. So can we just accept that? Is everybody happy with that in the chamber? So it's done as an alteration, not an amendment. Thank you very much. So if we could go back to the debate on the altered substantial motion. We've had Councillor Dyer. I think the next speaker was Councillor Corey.
Thank you, Chairman. It's been a long-held position of the Conservative Party to introduce for the introduction of mandatory ID cards for citizens of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. But I must state at the outset that for many years, I have actually remained open-minded to the idea, being able to see both sides of the argument. However, I am increasingly concerned by the insidious nature of this Labour government's approach to free speech and freedom of expression, and its determination to curtail and punish the freedom of expression via seeming summary justice, and I find this alarming. As a result, I now find myself unable to reconcile our hard-fought-for freedoms with the ambition of this government to centralise and control every aspect of our lives. We should be using technology to enable freedoms, not curtail them, and I see no good can come of mandatory digital ID. I do not trust this government to look after my data, to protect it, and not to engage in mission creep, and to use this data to control and coerce our fellow citizens into particular behaviour, even if we are told it is for our own good. It's worth noting, Chairman, that we need only remember as far back as the Post Office scandal to understand how governments and political actors manipulate, use and suppress data for their own ends and jail those who speak the truth. Remember also the BBC editing newsreel footage of Trump's speech to promote its own ideology. Right now, Chairman, I do not trust our state in all its forms with my data. But supporters will say, Apple and Google know more about you than the government. Yes, I will reply, but the Apple Corporation will not put me in jail if I say something they don't like. So, all-encompassing digital ID, no thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I thank this administration for standing firm against not only this policy, but the pylons, solar farms and Labour's net zero nonsense. This policy is not only a waste of taxpayers' money coming directly from the Home Office budget, but also an infringement of civil liberties that even Kim Jong-un himself could say we're going a little bit too far. This government would rather young people be governed by a big brother nanny state that tells you how many Coca-Colas you can have at Lincoln Nando's than support young entrepreneurs and businesses who can create high-quality apprenticeships and jobs. It seeks to exclude those in my division who do not use technology and tells them that because they do not use technology, they will be exempt from accessing services. That is where this policy is going, with a £1.8 billion price tag to go with it. No mandate nationally, no mandate in Lincolnshire, and we, the Reform County Council, Reform Mayor and Reform MP, will defend Lincolnshire from this destructive Labour government until its last day. They say the Labour Party is dead. Well, it must be Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Dilks, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll probably be the lone voice, as I have been before. But I think you should give them a chance. It's been an announcement. It has been, I can see you shaking your head, but there's been an announcement, but the programme hasn't been worked out yet. And I heard Nigel Farage's allegations that Labour's real purpose in their plan is to introduce digital cards to increase power and control over people's lives. And Reform members today have followed his language. Digital cards are dangerous erosion of freedom and Chinese-style dystopian security state restricting movement and access to services. And so it was no surprise to see a joint Reform Conservative motion debated in Northants recently with similar wording to what we've predictably got before us today, a model motion. Mr Farage suggests we'll all be locked up if we don't carry a digital ID, saying he'd rather go to prison than carry one. Well, fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, depending on your viewpoint, Mr Farage knows he's in no danger of being locked up. Well, at least not for carrying a digital ID card anyway, as he knows well. If you look at the government website, it's quite clear that there will be, I take the point, understandably, about Lincolnshire and people are not on the website and all the rest of it, not on the internet and stuff, might not have smartphones. You don't have to have one. It says we will ensure there are alternative routes to obtain the digital ID for those who cannot use a smartphone or need extra assistance. Physical alternatives will be available, etc., etc. I recognise the idea has not been universally welcomed, and I'm not saying I'm in favour, but I just think let's have a listen, you know. Nor once was universal support for universal suffrage, a national health service, equal pay for women, or a national minimum wage. But we do live in a fast-moving, modern 21st century, and who would have thought 20 years ago when the idea, it wasn't first came up, we had them in the First and Second World Wars, didn't we? And nobody worried about them then. But who would have thought 20 years ago the impact of the internet would have on our lives, or that cash would be largely redundant and we'd be paying for things by showing our mobile phone, not to mention AI, the next technical revolution. Yes, there are, the motion lists understandable concerns, and I recognise those, but rather than engaging the government to be mindful of those concerns when designing the detail of the idea, the motion simply calls on the government to abandon any such scheme. Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, I thought he was quite sensible when he said he hoped there wouldn't be a knee-jerk opposition to digital ID cards. 2 days later, he said he'd be fighting them tooth and nail. I think he was right the first time. I won't be joining Reform nor the Conservatives in supporting this motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. The next item, next speaker is Councillor Overton, MBE.
Thank you, Chairman. Anything that affects our residents is right for us to discuss. So I'm not unhappy with this motion coming forward. I think it's important for all of our residents. We went through the issue of voter ID being required, which I objected to. The problem with it was we've got people who they say, oh, you can get an alternative. Guess how you get the alternative? You have to go online and order it before a certain date, long time in advance. How is that going to help people to access voting? So what worries me about this, has been said earlier, is about, do we really trust that all of these details that come forward as it progresses are really going to make it acceptable? I don't think so. I do see it as an intrusion on our personal rights. I don't want to give personal details to the central government. I already have to carry a passport or a driving license if I want for ID. I don't want to have other information held. And it's not necessarily a trust of this government. It's the trust of the world of data. Could there be a leak, a break-in of all of this data, perhaps from foreign countries, from foreign forces who want to know all about us in order to perhaps put all kinds of things through social media? I don't know. Maybe that sounds far-fetched, but actually, when we've seen the things that have happened and the leaks have happened, it's not actually far-fetched, and it could happen. So I think in the current state, it's really dangerous to go down this route, and so I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could move to Councillor Lee, please.
Thanks, Chair. I wasn't actually going to speak on this because I don't have strong feelings about it either way, but having listened to Councillor Dilks, I thought I would speak about it because I think there are things in favour of it and things against it, to be quite honest about it. One of the things that bothered me whilst I was out trailing the streets day in, day out in April and May of this year was the fact that a lot of people couldn't vote because they didn't have any voter ID, and apparently this doubles up. So that may be something in its favour. But I do agree with what Councillor Dilks has said as well. You know, let's just see the detail before we say, no, we don't like this. And that's not to say either that I'm in favour of it, but I would like to see the detail. What I would say is that, and I think it's been alluded to, that there have been similar motions to this elsewhere. I think that this is performative politics, and I think increasingly my belief that Lincolnshire County Council is being run to a degree by Reform Central just becomes more and more clear as we go forward. But I'm going to abstain, not because I'm frightened of giving an opinion, but because until I see the detail, I shan't make my mind up about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Councillor Brockway.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to support this. I think this is a very important thing to bring forward, actually, because what's happening is quite insidious. One thing that really worries me about all this is I'm gaining the impression that some citizens, some residents, are not appreciating what civil liberties really are. We all know how hard past generations have had to fight for our freedoms, but the gains that they made are worryingly fragile. You can see what's happening around the world to women. In some societies, gains are being stepped back quite significantly. Freedoms that, when you look at the freedoms people had in Iraq in the 70s and look at the situation now, okay, that's not the UK, but it is about state surveillance. And when you lose your civil liberties, it isn't usually in a Western society a big bang, suddenly it all goes, because if that happened, everybody would come out and fight. What happens, though, more likely, is that we lose them one by one, quietly, drip feeding, and we don't notice it until they're gone. This is central state-sponsored control, and it is nasty. To be frank, the state already knows everything that it needs to know about us. I mean, before long, they're going to want to know what toothpaste we use. I mean, if you've got Alexa in your house, Alexa knows things, other people, other government organisations know things. They really don't need any more. I think this is very important, and I'm going to be supporting it strongly. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. If I could move on to Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you, Chair. Labour's digital ID. It's a state surveillance control tool dressed up as immigration control. It won't stop illegal immigration. We already know that because we've got several countries who have already got digital ID who are having absolute nightmares with illegal immigration. But what it will do is it will track and control law-abiding Brits. We say no to this. So therefore, I firmly support this motion, which will take it as no surprise to anybody. We say no to Big Brother Britain.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not support digital ID for all of the reasons that have been outlined. But I believe that the government is putting the cart before the horse, because the rural areas don't have the infrastructure to support this type of system anyway. So what I would suggest to the government is let's repurpose that 1.8 billion that's been earmarked to cover the funding of digital ID and reinvest it into the efforts to ensure we've got good connectivity throughout the whole of our rural areas, so that we can communicate better and more efficiently, and businesses can grow better as well. So I will be supporting this motion. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Chairman.
very much. Councillor Bean.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to reiterate the concerns regarding digital exclusion. For someone who represents a large rural ward, there's very poor broadband, very poor internet in total, and virtually no phone signal in a lot of it. So it just isn't going to work in that area. And I'd just like to also, I was going to mention about the 1.8 billion that could be better spent increasing the mobile phone coverage and internet provision in rural areas, but Councillor Kelly beat me to it. The only other thing I'd like to say is we've all seen recently the astronomical rise in mobile phone theft. Is digital ID on a mobile device really secure? Because I don't believe it is, and I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Bowles.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I will be supporting the motion as well. I won't go over a lot of the reasons that other members have covered. I think particularly Councillor Overton covered a lot of what I was going to say. But for me, the main reason is, and whether it's at this council, whether it's national government, we should be listening to our residents and picking up the issues that matter to them. When I go out and talk to my residents, I've never had a single resident come to me and talk to me about digital ID and security. What they talk to me about is their inability to get a doctor's appointment, the state of the roads, the lack of policing, etc., etc. This 1.8 billion, Councillor Kelly would spend it somewhere else, Councillor Bean would spend it on other things. That could be reinvested in the policing and the things that actually matter to our residents, and that's what we should be encouraging the government to do. While I've been sat here, I've received an email from our local policing inspector in Gainsborough outlining the decimation of his team of police officers in Gainsborough. Absolute decimation of officers in Gainsborough that are going to be relocated centrally as response officers. What can I possibly say to my residents? Absolutely nothing. This is a nonsense scheme. The government should be focusing on the matters that matter to the residents and people of this country and county.
Thank you. If we go to Councillor Danny Brooks, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be supporting the motion. Most of what I had to say has already been said. Just to reiterate what Councillor Bean said, there are 1 million smartphone thefts every day worldwide, 200 a day in the UK. So as he says, is digital ID really safe?
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Gibson, do you wish to reserve your right? I do apologise, Councillor Sheard.
Thank you. I just want to say I do not support digital ID. Let's not waste any taxpayers' money on this. I support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Happy to move to the vote, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Matthews, do you wish to say anything?
No, Chairman, I think everything's been covered.
Thank you. So that means we can go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. Can I just finish a minute? Can I just finish a minute? Any abstentions? And I think, Councillor Dix, you would like your vote recorded. Right, that brings us then, oh sorry, I should announce the result. I think that the motion was carried. So if we can now move on to the second motion in front of us today, a motion submitted by the Conservative Group. So I would like to ask Councillor Hill to introduce.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So with not much confidence, I put this motion forward because we are trying to be helpful, and unfortunately the Executive on the previous amendment voted to keep themselves in the dark. So I'm wondering if at least this motion has had time to go to Reform Central to get either approval or disapproval from them. So I think we all agree, Chairman, that highways is one of the most visible and important functions which this council undertakes. It's not only a matter of repairing the roads, preventing damage to vehicles, it's also about a stitch in time saves nine, and there's proven evidence now the more you spend on preventative measures, the more value you get, and you actually end up spending far more later on. And I think it's also a reputational issue. Every survey that's ever been done of, well, certainly in recent years, to the public, their number one priority is always potholes and repairing the roads. And I think we all know when we go for election, what do you get on the doorstep? It's local issues, it's always about potholes. So it's really important, and I'm very proud that the previous administration put records of amounts of money into repairing the roads. So obviously we then came to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee where we reviewed the performance of, budgetary performance of each department, and it emerged from that exercise, and this is why it's important that things are put in the public domain, that there obviously is some drought damage, which is causing significant damage to parts of our road, and as a group we fully support the 1.3 million pounds which will the council is now proposing to put into rectifying that severe damage. But obviously then to pay for that as part of the justification, and I have circulated the relevant part of the Overview and Scrutiny report, it was to cancel, not postpone, cancel certain works. And I think with some difficulty, I think we've been able to work out what will not happen now, although it is proving quite difficult. And also there's the issue of the Pothole programme as well. I don't know how much is that costing, but that has to be accommodated. So there is a budget gap. And I think I can say with complete confidence, if this had still been a Conservative-run council, we would have found that money, no question. So being helpful here, though, there isn't a binary choice here, because part of that same description of the highways financial performance, there's actually currently forecast to be a 3.697 million underspend in the highways department. So simple math states that, well, 1.3 is a lot less than 3.469. So why, in common sense terms, we're not asking for extra money to be spent. All we're asking for is some of the highways underspend to be used. Technically, we have to wait to the year end before we can use that money. And if that money is not available, hopefully it will be, there is an issue, which is why the motion actually then talks about using the contingency, which currently has £8 million in it, to pay for this money, because it's very important not only that we repair the roads, but there are communities out there who are expecting work to be done. There are councillors out there who have promised their parish councils, etc., that stuff will happen, and that stuff will no longer be happening. So in terms of trying to be helpful, Chairman, the motion is all about trying to make sure that, A, we do repair that drought damage, but at the same time we continue with the programme of works which was set out at the beginning of this financial year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seconder, Councillor Byrne.
Chairman, very happy to second this motion and reserve my right to speak later. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one person registered to speak so far. Councillor Dyer. Oh, I beg your pardon. You must have just been waving to me. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Chairman. And I find myself thanking you Conservatives for bringing this motion forward. It's very interesting. It's a meaningful motion. I know the pothole trial appears in the motion. I raised issues about the potholes machine in the Highways Committee on Monday. One question was quite simple: is it value for money? Along with my other questions I asked, they remain didn't get no answer to it. But anyway, there we go. Furthermore, can't see how planned work can be deferred. If it is planned, there must be a reason for it to be there. Or otherwise, why is it being planned? Is it just waste of, time and money? So it must go ahead. Therefore, the motion as it writes. End of.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Condell.
Thank you, Chairman. As Councillor Hill states in his preamble, Lincolnshire County Council has a statutory duty under Section 41 of the Highways Act to maintain the public highway network in a safe condition. So it's a bit of a surprise he appears to be suggesting that we should not have taken into consideration the significant damage caused to the vulnerable parts of our road network, which puts and still puts our highway services under severe pressure. Instead of ignoring those issues, they have been dealt with, and as he well knows from officer clarification and even stated himself, no work has been cancelled, it has just been rescheduled.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Councillor Mrs Overton, MBE.
Thank you very much. I do support this motion because I am concerned about highways. We have fought long and hard to try and get better funding in. When I first started, it was one of the big issues, and we actually got our Grade C roads up to close on 75% good, and that was just astonishing. But it meant that you could really not fear accidents at every moment driving on Lincolnshire roads. So I remember that. Then we had a degradation as it's gone downwards, and then we've recently, the last few years, put more money in again. We went to a lot of trouble to find extra funding from reserves or elsewhere and get that money back. And lately, in the last few years, I have seen an improvement. I, like you, often have to drive back from parish council meetings late at night, in the rain, in the dark, trying to avoid the potholes without hitting another car coming the other way. That safety is really important for all of our residents. And that's why I think it is worth taking money out of reserves to cover the costs, the extra costs that we're experiencing because of these unusual situations of dry roads. It's worth it. It saves lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey Robinson.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to just note that a few of my roads suffered quite considerably during this drought this year, with the A1031 in Saltfleet closing for some weeks. It was opened only a few weeks later, for which I thank the team for their swift action. It seems that if this was a Conservative administration based on this motion, the road may have been closed indefinitely, distressing my constituents for months on end. It certainly won't be the first time a Conservative administration ignored the priorities of our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cleaver.
Thank you, Chairman. Nobody wants to underestimate the damage that was done to the roads by the drought. And of course, that could not be foreseen when the budget was set originally. But that's what we have reserves for. It's really quite simple. We have reserves to deal with the unexpected. Taking 1.3 million out of reserves for an organisation with a budget of the size that this organisation has shouldn't be a big issue. It really shouldn't. 1.3 million, we need to spend it. We need to spend it quickly. We bring it in from reserves and we leave the rest of the programme untouched. To me, that just seems common sense. And so I support the motion. Thank
you. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank Councillor Hill, not for the motion, but for reminding everybody of the value of having a quality, effective, preventive maintenance regime, because it does save money in the long run. However, what I would like to remind Councillor Hill is that it's a pity that same principle wasn't applied to our castle, where we're now having to fund £13 million worth to cover the poor maintenance regime that was put in place there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I believe now that Councillor I've got Councillor Dyer was.
Thank you, Chairman. You know me, never want to give up the opportunity to have my say. Just some comments, really. Thank you, Councillor Hill, for putting this forward. I think clearly you've got a lot of experience running this council. But Councillor Condell, just some advice. Where are you? I understand sometimes it's helpful to write pre-written speeches before we speak in the council chamber, but your pre-written speech wasn't adapted based on what Councillor Hill said. So Councillor Hill did not say at any point that we're not going to repair the drought-damaged roads. That isn't what he was proposing. He was saying, yes, do that. Clearly, it needs to be done, but fund from the underspend the works that are being proposed to be cancelled. So Councillor Condell, I appreciate you want to plan ahead, but sometimes you do need to adapt. Councillor Overton, my good friend, complimenting Lincolnshire County Council repairing the roads. Fantastic. I've just looked at the minutes from the council budget this year. Only one member of the county council didn't support the budget. Oh, well, some abstained, but one member voted against. It was a one Mrs. M.J. Overton, MBE. So I appreciate your support now. It's a shame you didn't support us when we actually voted through the budget for this financial year. Councillor Robinson B. Same advice about pre-written speeches. That's not what we were saying at all. Councillor Hill made that point very clear. Repair the drought-damaged roads, fund it from the underspend. So please, pre-written speeches, Reform colleagues. They're great, but just update them. Councillor Cleaver.
Point of order, Chairman. This motion is the one we should be discussing.
Personal
comments and attacks seem to be entirely out of place.
Thank you very much. Can we actually come back to the matter at hand, please?
Chairman, I'm responding, Chairman, to some of the points that are made in the chamber. It's perfectly reasonable. I'm not being offensive to anybody. Council full of snowflakes. Councillor Cleaver, you just mentioned funding from reserves. Just to be very, very clear, Councillor Hill was stating funding this through the underspend, temporarily through reserves, then through underspend. And Councillor Kelly, this castle thing, the Reform like the castle at the moment, that's great, because the previous Conservative administration did invest in the castle. But I appreciate there seems to be a castle theme running through this council. I don't know whether it's because there's a parliamentary battle for Louth and Horncastle over there. Chairman, and I'm going to mention, it was mentioned by Councillor Kelly, at the last Growth Scrutiny Committee, property which I am disappointed Councillor Kelly doesn't have.
So we've got a point of order from Councillor Matthews.
Yeah, just a quick point of order. The castle's not in Louth and Horncastle. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very aware of that, Councillor Matthews, but thank you very much on picking me up on my geographical knowledge of Lincolnshire. But at the last Growth Scrutiny Committee meeting, where we discussed the long-term plan for corporate property, we had the urgent repairs for the next financial year, and then we had 8.5 million for future financial years. I have seen the documents. There are no plans at all within for the next 3 financial years to carry out any of these urgent works to Lincoln Castle. So I know my good friend Councillor Corey requested an update to Growth Scrutiny Committee. So I do hope, Chairman, that the administration urgently bring forward a report on the maintenance of Lincoln Castle to Growth Scrutiny Committee, fully funded, so that we can actually, rather than talk about it in the council chamber, we can actually have it out and have the debate
Councillor
in committee.
Dyer,
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. If I could now move on to Councillor Dilks, please.
I wasn't going to speak either, but I hear people telling us, oh, don't worry, your roads haven't been cancelled. They've been rescheduled. The word is delayed. In my patch, just to update you what's going on in the Deepings, it's in the beautiful south for them that's not been. We've been waiting patiently for years for 2 major road schemes. And I know that the plan was to repair, up to 3 weeks ago, the plan was to repair Bridge Street in my division, ahead of repairing the horrendous state of the road at Holfleet in my friend Councillor Baxter's division in Market Deeping, on a bus route that has, 4 buses an hour going both ways. If you've travelled on a bus there, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a bit of a journey. However, my highways officer for the division I'm in, and Ashley, emailed me a couple of weeks ago to say, oh yeah, due to the current budget pressures and the recent need to prioritise drought-related repairs across the county, a number of resurfacing sites have had to be reprioritised. As a result, Halfleet will now be delivered in 26-27, which is, what we've been promised for years, while the Bridge Street has been moved back to 27-28. We only have sufficient budget to complete one of the 2 schemes in the year. Given the scale, it was thought more appropriate to defer the more expensive scheme, which is the more desperate one, I've got to say, not in my division, in my neighbouring division, and is raised at almost every parish council in my division about, people having to go next door and travel on this rough road. So it's been delayed. It's been delayed and delayed. That's what people out there are worried about. And, it just seems sensible that I appreciate the dry summer and what's happened with the roads and the challenge of Fen roads, but that's what we've got reserves for. It really is. And the reserves are there, as Councillor Hills pointed out. The figures just do not add up.
Thank you. And that moves on to your near neighbour, Councillor Baxter.
Wouldn't dream of it. I certainly appreciate Phil taking half of my speech away. There's been more time for this, and I also appreciate the comments of Councillor Dyer. If anybody needs a expert lesson on public speaking, he's obviously the person who thinks he can give it. Whether you call it cancelling or rescheduling or postponing or delaying, the residents who live on these roads and the residents who use these roads, they are wondering what's going on. And residents are very confused about what's going on because aside from Bridge Street and Halfleet and Church Street in Market Deeping and Deeping St James, they have been kind of promised. They were on a priority. They were on an advanced priority. I'm really desperately hoping that the promise of it happening in Halfleet and Church Street from roundabout to roundabout in the next financial year will go ahead. I would be delighted if that were to happen. But at the same time, residents in Baston are wondering why a lay-by has been resurfaced to the quality of, it could be a roller skating rink. Baston are delighted that money is being spent in their ward, but frankly, they would rather the road was in the same condition as the lay-by is now because it is so good. I understand that there were 6 lay-bys over the last 2 years that were given special treatment, and that's not going to happen next. So I'm glad that that's being put back into the ordinary set of priorities. So finally, the prolonged drought damage, the drought-damaged roads, we can say it's a special event or whatever. It's going to become more so. This is not damage from a drought. It's actually damage from a prolonged period of dry weather. A prolonged period of dry weather, which is technically not the same as a drought, but as anybody knows who is involved in the flood committees or the drainage boards or whatever else, both wet weather and dry weather are now becoming more problematic. And this is a consequence of climate change.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to support the motion for all of the reasons that people have said, and I'm not going to go through them again. I nearly always agree with Councillor Dilks, but it's starting to worry me a bit because I'm starting to agree more and more with my friends in the Conservative group. And it has to be said, previously, I've not always been the strongest supporter of their spending on highways. That said, I think that highways, for those of us who've been around a while, highways makes up probably more than half of our casework. And the people who I represent in Ermine and Cathedral would want me to vote in support of this motion. So I'm going to. I am going to say, though, again, the funding requirement for the Pothole Pro machine, that really worries me, you know, that we're shelling out for that. I did a bit of Googling, because I do try to be accurate when I speak on things. And I was told that following their success in local elections, reform-influenced councils such as Lincolnshire and Derbyshire are using this machine trialling this machine, can't read my own writing, for road repairs. And it just worries me more and more that apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I apologise if I'm wrong, the chair of JCB makes donations to Reform, and we're paying for this machine. And it just feels more and more that Reform UK, Central UK, are governing this council, and that really, really worries me. And I think actually we should be doing the things that we said we'd do and not spending money on machines. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. The next speaker is Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just really wanted to make a point of saying, you know, if the Conservatives have done such an amazing job of the roads, why was it an overwhelming theme from residents during the election campaign to say that they weren't happy with the job that the Conservatives have done over the last God knows how many years? Just to put Councillor Dyer's mind at rest, there's no battle here. We don't do infighting like the Tories do. But what I would like to know is what I would like to know, though, Councillor Dyer, is which pantomime you're starring in this year, because you would be far better suited in that environment.
Thank you. With that, can we move on to Councillor Cheney, please?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for all the points raised, all understood. I'll say quite unequivocally that we will not be drawing down from reserves. I accept the points taken. However, we are still operating to the Conservatives' budget that was put through by you at your last juncture, and that works is carrying on as per the officer's recommendations. What I will say is that firstly, the Pothole Pro, the unit we're using is actually owned by Balfour Beatty, our contractors, so the money we're spending on that is no more than we would have spent actually using the other vehicles that we have in repairing the roads. But the Pothole Pro is actually very suited and has proven itself to work very effectively on repairing some of these damaged roads, drought or whatever you would like to call it. And in that, I'm sure we will see some value for money. As for the major repair works in Councillor Dilk's constituency division, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. It's something I'm currently unaware of, but more than happy to talk to you about that. But that, for me, we will not be drawing down. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the executive member has probably just given the points better than I could do. I was going to say that the budget was set and we're trying to stick within that budget. Nothing has been cancelled. Not a single one of these projects has been cancelled. They've been moved, not stopped. And none of it was to do with potholes. We are still fixing the roads, we're still trying to fix the potholes, and apparently doing a relatively good job at the moment, I hope. Our roads over the summer period face some serious drought and some serious cracking. I thought the roads in my area were bad, but whilst I've been out visiting other areas, I realised I don't have the worst of it. Luckily, we actually instated the Pothole Pro, which actually I think is badly named. I think it should be called the long stretch of road that's got a crack in it Pro, because for small potholes, it's not very good. Long stretch of road with lots to do, it churns it up and gets on with it 3 times quicker than our teams can. So luckily, we had that at our disposal at this time when needed with the cracked roads. Our officers have been asked to stay within their budget envelopes, and that's what they're trying to do. That's why they've moved these projects. Again, not pulled from potholes. They were pulled from 400k for machine lining, 220k from a footway scheme, and 150 grand from minor works, to name but 3. So to assure this council, we are not stopping the work. Some things have been moved into next year and will still be done. I do not support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Chairman. I will support the resolution because it's common sense. What Councillor Gibson just talked about, minor works, are very important. All the small jobs as well as the big jobs, they're important. I'll give you 2 examples in my division in the Burton Road area of Lincoln. One of them was an upgrade of a road crossing on Burton Road, which obviously is in the interest of public safety. Don't know when that's going to happen now. Been waiting since April. And the other is putting 2 new lampposts on a street called Albany Street, where the City Council offered to put CCTV cameras on it in order to reduce antisocial behaviour and criminal activity, which unfortunately at the moment we've got quite a bit of there. Now, is that to me, that's more important than not using some of our reserves, because the public interest is in public safety and in having good roads and pavements.
Thank you. Have I got any other, Councillor Byrne? Sorry, can I ask Councillor Taylor first, because I think he's just indicated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do support this motion and agree with the comments made by Councillor Hill. This is, of course, about safety and safety of our residents, and that recent comment by Councillor Gibson regarding footway delays is actually a concern, because we're all aware of footway problems in our divisions, and we know, not to be extreme about this or sensational, but when they are damaged, some residents are so reluctant to leave the house. It affects their confidence. And to improve footways can prevent issues regarding hospitals and confidence. We do need to take this seriously, and it'd be worth having that list of these footways which are being delayed and communicate that to residents, because I'm sure they will challenge regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, Councillor Byrne, if you'd like to speak now.
Thank you very much indeed, Chairman. The first thing I'd like to start with is that I don't know if there's an inaccuracy on page 33 of OSMB papers, because it does clearly state, to avoid overspending, £1.3 million of planned works January to March 2026 has been cancelled. So I'll just start with that section there. And then if I may move on, Chairman and all, I am very happy to support this proposal. As we've heard very kindly from Councillor Condell, we all know we have a statutory duty to maintain our highways network in a safe condition. This duty continues when budgets are under pressure.
I've just got a point of order.
Just on a point of order, the officer who said council has retracted it and corrected herself when saying it was deferred.
Well, thank you very much. We've had the comment. Let's move on.
Thank you. I can obviously only act on the information that's in those papers, so thank you very much indeed. So just to return, as I say, our duty continues when budgets are under pressure, when there's a push to make headline-grabbing savings, and when decisions are difficult. We have, as I've previously stated, been told that £1.3 million of planned highways works scheduled for early 2026 have been cancelled. These are not cancellations of optional extras. The cancellations include surfacing works, footway improvements, and other minor works. All these activities are those that prevent small defects from becoming major failures. We're told these cancellations are made to avoid overspending. Cancelling planned maintenance doesn't remove the cost, it simply pushes it into the future, often at a much higher price. Deferred resurfacing becomes emergency patching. Planned work become reactive repairs, all again at a much higher cost. And this will mean over time the whole network deteriorates faster. Thank you for your compliments so far in advance. Under the previous Conservative leadership, this council did allocate record levels of funding for resurfacing, patching and preventative maintenance and improved road conditions across the county for all of our residents. This wasn't accidental, it was the result of stable, planned investment, and cancelling £1.3 million worth of
Point
work.
of order. No cancellations. Nothing's been
The
cancelled.
point has been made, but the Speaker is pointing out that the papers which have been distributed clearly stated cancelled, and she's writing to that, but we hear what you say. We hear what you say, but she's responding to the papers given, which is her right.
I'm sorry.
Can I just rule now
I have my
that we
time
hear what
paused?
you say, but Councillor Vernon, would you like to continue, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie Oliver, Councillor Oliver, for your clarification. I do understand, but as I said at the start of my speech, can only base my information on the information that is openly available to all members, and that includes members of the public too. So I know I know that I may be running out of time.
We are
Thank
running
you.
out of time, and I think we
Absolutely.
should give Councillor Vernon the chance to finish off what she wants to say.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The previous funding was not accidental. It was the result of stable, planned investment. Highways are not discretionary, as we've previously heard. They underpin road safety, economic activity and public confidence in this council. Managing them like this is not efficient, it's not sustainable, and it does not give the public confidence in what we're doing. This motion doesn't ask for extravagance. It calls for the reinstatement of planned, cancelled works. I know that you're saying it's not cancelled, but I will disagree respectfully there. Protection for the planned and preventative maintenance, all of which was already budgeted for, and transparency about the long-term consequences of today's decision. Most importantly, this motion reiterates that highways investment is not a cost to be avoided, but an investment that saves money, protects residents and keeps Lincolnshire moving. Colleagues on the other side of the room, don't be afraid to join us. Your residents will
Thank you, Councillor Vernon.
Thank you, Chairman.
And give you a slight bit extra because of the time. Right, and I would like to now ask Councillor Hill as...
Thank you, Chairman. Transparency and openness. The paper officer words, not our words, the words which were used in paper, in writing, to overview and scrutiny, was the word cancelled. The leader now says, oh no, they didn't mean to say it. Frankly, how do I know? You're saying that, and you're saying that. We don't. I mean, this motion has been around for 3 days. If you're now saying, oh, the officers was retracting it, why weren't we told about it? Because, frankly, you don't really want to let us know what's going on. That's becoming increasingly apparent. And obviously, highways maintenance is not a priority for the members opposite. Fair enough. We'll learn that soon enough. Can I just clear up some confusion? First of all, Councillor Connell, we're not suggesting we don't do the repairs due to drought damage. That's exactly what we're doing. And the other thing is, it did say, cancelled. So can we be clear? Stuff in writing, that's why it's important. People can say anything, Councillor Matthews. Do we believe them? Don't we believe them? I don't know. If it's in writing, there's no argument about it. There is also some confusion. We're not suggesting they come out of reserves. We're suggesting it comes out of contingency. Every year, the council has a contingency budget for exactly this sort of purpose. So for unforeseen circumstances which come along, so that we can, rather than dip into reserves, we have a budget there. That currently sits at £8 million, as I said earlier. So there is no issue there. That's what the contingency budget is for. And of course, as a backstop, we're already learning that probably highways will underspend by substantially more than 1.3 million. So assuming that the portfolio holder keeps on top of what the officers are doing, probably we won't even need to take the money from contingency. So I'll take no lectures. You're saying, oh, the road's this, that, and the other. Here's your opportunity to prove it. And what you're actually proving is highways and pothole repairs are not your priority. And by the way, I think I'll get a written reply to you. All this nonsense about we haven't spent any money on the castle is wrong, is incorrect.
Point of order. I never said that you didn't. I said planned investment and planned...
Can I just say... Yeah.
Planned investment and a planned maintenance strategy. That was never implemented. So that is factually correct.
Thank you very much. If you'd like to continue, Mr. Councillor Hill.
Well, it's in the budget, and we'll wait to see what's in the budget when it comes out next week. Obviously, highway's not a priority, so I think the residents of Lincolnshire, particularly after the vote we're about to have, can be reassured that all the nonsense we heard from certain reform candidates that stating the state of the roads and Nigel Farage doing his usual thing was all baloney. You don't believe in repairing the roads properly, you have other priorities. Fair enough, just be honest about it.
Thank you very much. Now that brings us to the end of the debate on the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a point of clarification, if I might ask, because of what we've heard today. I appreciate this confusion and so on, but I just wonder if it would be helpful, and could I request that each and every member of this council is provided with a list of what the programme actually is for the current year and for the coming future years, and which shows which ones have been moved, delayed, altered, rescheduled or not cancelled.
Thank you, Councillor Dilks. I'm sure that can be arranged, but can we now go back to what is the matter in hand in front of us? We've had the motion proposed, seconded, we've debated and we've concluded. So I'd like to now ask all those people...
Excuse me, move the recorded vote, please.
We have a request for recorded vote. That's enough. Thank you very much. Saves me having to speak. Over to Andrew.
He's earning his money today.
Oh.
So we are now voting on the motion put forward by the Conservative group. So I'll read out the name of each member in alphabetical order. Would those voting for the motion from the Conservative group say yes? Those voting against say no, and those abstaining say abstain. So alphabetically, Councillor Arundel. No. Councillor Bamford. No. Councillor Baxter. Yes. Councillor Bean. No. Councillor Beecham. No. Councillor Bowles. Yes. Councillor Bridgewood. No. Councillor Mrs Brockway. Yes. Councillor Danny Brooks. No. Councillor Jimmy Brooks. No. Councillor Bunny.
Abstain.
Councillor Carey. Councillor Carrington.
Yes.
Councillor Catton. No. Councillor Corey. Yes. Councillor Chapman. Yes. Councillor Cheen. No. Councillor Clark. Yes. Councillor Cleaver. Yes. Councillor Collier. No. Councillor Condell. No. Councillor Cook. Yes. Councillor Daish. No. Councillor Davies. Yes. Councillor Dilks. Councillor Dyer. Councillor Dyer, yes, please. Yes. Yeah. Councillor East. No. Councillor Ed Goose-Zagorski. No. Councillor Findlay. No. Councillor French. No. Councillor Gibson. No. Councillor Grantham. No. Councillor Hassan. No. Councillor Hastings. No. Councillor Hill, OBE. Yes. Councillor Hume. No. Councillor Kelly. No. Councillor Kendrick. Yes. Councillor King. Councillor Lee. Yes. Councillor Litchfield. No. Councillor Locke. Councillor Martin. Yes. Councillor Matthews. No. Councillor McGonigal. Councillor Murray. Yes. Councillor Oliver. No. Councillor Mrs Overton, MBE. Yes. Councillor Parkinson. No. Councillor Redfern. No. Councillor Reeve. No. Councillor Roberts. No. Councillor Bailey Robinson. Councillor Reuben Robinson. No. Councillor Rowe. Yes. Councillor Sheard. No. Councillor Smith. No. Councillor Sneath. No. Councillor Taylor. Yes. Councillor Mrs Vernon. Yes. Councillor Wimhurst. No. Councillor Woodruff. No. Councillor Mrs Woolley. Yes. Councillor Wright. Yes. And Councillor Young. Yes.
Thank you very much. Voting was 24 yes, 40 no, and 1 abstention, means that the motion was not carried. Can I bring this meeting to an end. Firstly, in the usual way, reminding members to collect their posts from the pigeonholes after the meeting. And I wish you all have a good journey home. But before we do that, I do believe that there are festive rolls outside for us to enjoy and get together and enjoy each other's company. And finally, could I wish you yet again a very happy Christmas, a merry and prosperous, we hope, New Year. Thank you.